Hi, my name is Raquel. I'm a residential tech here at Uplift Recovery in Pasadena. So I started with addiction a little after high school. I went to private schools my entire life, and I felt very caged in. My parents were super, super strict, and I wasn't allowed to do a lot of the things that the other kids were allowed to do. When I was younger, my parents were super, super strict as well. They wouldn't let me, to the point where they wouldn't even let me watch certain music videos or certain movies if I was too young. The Harry Potter came out and I wasn't allowed to see because it was PG-13. So I grew up being very rebellious because I always felt so caged up. And after high school, I started hanging out with the wrong crowd, but I felt like I fit in with them, and I felt like I was able to express myself more with them. It continually progressed and got worse and got worse. It first started off with just alcohol and weed, and then progressed into cocaine and different types of drugs up until it led up to heroin and meth. Once I got into heroin and meth, I got really, really bad. My life got completely out of control. I couldn't manage any aspect of my life, not school, not work, nothing. I couldn't even really take care of myself. So I finally went and got sober after multiple attempts at different facilities in California. I went and I got sober in Mexico. That was the time that worked. So I was there for about a year and a half, and I moved back here. As soon as I moved back here, I found a job here in Pasadena at Uplift, and it changed my life, honestly. I love working here. The staff is like family. I love the environment. I love how I love how we take care of the clients. We actually really look out for them, their well-being is actually important to us and every single staff member here. And I value that. So I like being a part of that. I like the mission. I like the fact that everybody here is so dedicated to the future and the well-being of every single individual person. And we meet each individual person's needs. So I think that working here has actually helped a lot with my recovery as well. Just being in this environment and being able to be a part of that.
Can you tell us an experience that was kind of one of the darker times in your addiction and what that was like?
Yes. So one of the darkest times during my addiction was towards the end, right before I was sent to rehab in Mexico. I got myself into a situation. I got myself into a really messed up situation with some people I had been hanging out around, and they had cut my hair. They had completely cut my hair, and they had held me, wouldn't let me go home, wouldn't let me leave, taking my phone. That was the worst situation I ever got myself into. I was completely broken. It took a lot to bring me back to life,
When did you first try your first harder substance, like meth or heroin? When was that?
When I was 24.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 24, by that time, my family had really turned against me. They were very done with me. My mom and dad had called the cops on me multiple times. One of the times that they had called the cops, the cops had actually requested my parents to sign a temporary restraining order. So my parents signed it. And I ended up getting kind of aggressive with the police officer, and the police officer tried to cuff me and then kind of pushed him off of me. So they charged me with battery on a police officer, and that was when all my legal problems started, and they just kept getting worse and worse. So I had a lot of anger with my family at that time. So when I had gotten out of jail, I wasn't able to see my family or even go home for 30 days. I wasn't able to have contact with them because of the temporary restraining order. And I was living with friends. So during that time, I started experimenting with more hardcore drugs. I started doing even Molly. I tried heroin for the first time. I tried Oxy for the first time. I didn't get into heroin at that time, but that was when I tried it for the first time.
What did that feel like for you the first time you did it?
The whole world stopped. Everything else stopped. Nothing else mattered.
Yeah.
I didn't feel anything, and that was exactly what I needed. I had so much pain that what I was really looking for was to not feel the amount of pain that I had. I wasn't comfortable with feeling my emotions because I didn't know how to control my emotions. I didn't know how to express them properly. So I would do pretty much anything to subside my emotions.
How old were you when that was?
24.
24.
Yeah. And now I'm 27.
Yeah. So so you got sober, and then what was that like getting sober, and what made you say, hey, I want to step into the recovery field? Like, what was that transition like?
So when I was in treatment in Mexico,
Where was this treatment in Mexico?
in Tijuana.
Tijuana.
Yeah, when I was in treatment in Mexico, I started to really I kind of started giving advice and consoling the other patients that were there with me anytime they were going through something. I started to realize how good I was at it, and I started to enjoy it. I started to enjoy making other people feel better, giving other people strength, motivating them. It made me feel good, and I felt like I was really good at it, so I wanted to go into this field. I felt like it was my calling. Uplift is very special because of the environment. The way we handle everything with care, the passion, the drive. I don't really think you see that at many other facilities.
Give us an example.
For example, each staff member here, when a client wants to leave our AMA, we really I've never seen this be infiltrated at other facilities. We really take the time to really sit with that client and figure out exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
What's going on in your mind, what's the issue.
Identify the barriers.
Exactly. How can we help you? If this is not where you want to be, we can help you find somewhere that you want to be.
Right.
Yeah. That doesn't really happen at other places, because I've been to a lot of different treatment centers in California before I went to Mexico, a lot. And each time I went to AMA, it was if my phone was dead, they wouldn't even let me charge my phone. They'd be like, no, you can't charge your phone. You got to go if you're going to AMA. They didn't care.
So you talked about not being able to identify or control your emotions. At what point did you learn that, or did that start becoming something that you were able to do? How'd you get
When I started learning how to not react, not be so reactive, to not, because my issue was that as soon as I would feel an emotion, I would act on that emotion right whenever I would feel it. Yeah, so that was my biggest struggle. It took me a very long time to learn. I think that's why I needed to be in treatment for so long. And I wasn't ready to leave any sooner than that. So I had to learn to actually sit back, think, be okay, I can react on this whenever my mind is calm, when I'm grounded, when I'm stable. Because I always made an irrational and rash decision whenever I acted on them in the moment.
So what happened, bring it back to family, when you took a turn towards drugs? What was your family doing? What were they thinking, or what happened with that?
They were doing everything they could to try to save me. And there was a point where they started to give up almost, and they got tired of it. It's really
their boundary.
Yeah, it really tore apart their lives to the point where they were okay, you know what? Get out of the house. We don't want anything to do with you. You're on your own. That's it. But they still didn't ever fully give up on me, in the sense that they kept trying and trying and trying. Yeah, and I'm beyond grateful for that.
What's your relationship now like with them?
My relationship now with them is amazing. My mom is my best friend. My dad is my rock. My siblings are my best friends. I never had that with them before. I always felt like I didn't fit in with them, I was the black sheep of the family. I just didn't feel like we had any similarities or things in common. I felt like I was too different.
Do you think did you feel that you were so different because maybe you just weren't in touch yet with who you were?
Yes. I felt like I wasn't understood because I didn't even understand myself.
Right.